Thousands of public sector workers took to the streets this week. Healthcare workers, civil servants, and teachers walked off the job. Just the latest in a series of rotating strikes throughout the province over contract negotiations. For now, there will be no more strike days. The union has agreed to hold off to continue negotiations. This week's protest meant Montreal area students had canceled classes, and for them it's not just a day off. I'm here with Carrie Goldberg from the West Island Family Resource Center. Thanks for joining us. What kind of challenges are students facing at this time?
They're facing lots of challenges. Imagine yourself, a high school student, preparing for exams and not having the ability to go to our teachers, who are phenomenal, but aren't able to give them the additional help that they need or support. Remember that this is a very difficult time for a lot of our students. It's the end of the term. Exams, final papers are being dealt with, and there's very little support. The teachers, unfortunately, are in a very difficult position. So not only are the teachers upset, but we've got parents that are extremely upset. They work full-time, are not able to give their kids the support that they need. They depend on our teachers and our other professionals. And the people that are falling behind are our kids. Most of our kids who are good students or average students get their help or support from their friends. The kids are at risk, don't have that many friends. We're looking at 1 in 5, and they are struggling.
And so are you seeing more of them come into the center?
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot more requests from parents. We're seeing a lot more requests from teacher referrals. We've developed 2 or 3 new programs really to help these kids, specifically now more than any, because they need to learn those skills that they're not being taught. So we're looking at social skills, which means working in a team, advocating for themselves, learning how to make friends. We're looking at study skills, learning how to study, learning how to take notes, organizing themselves. We have a transition program for kids going into high school, because a lot of these kids don't have a clue what they're getting themselves into. And we've got a lot of kids getting out of high school, and still, this is the drifting population. These kids have no clue what they want to do. And then we've got parents who work 40 hours a week and can't help their kids.
So is these programs new to the fact that there's a strike going on and there are additional challenges?
No, these programs have been in existence for about 10 years, but now it's gotten more and more important for these kids to learn what they need to learn, because the teachers aren't teaching them. They're sticking to the curriculum. So if I don't know how to ask a teacher properly to get help, I don't get the help. If I have no time to talk to a teacher as a parent, I go without. And that's frustrating and frightening to everybody involved.
And I guess it's more than just like homework and the schoolwork. I imagine that there's an emotional and sort of psychological.
Absolutely. Well, just visualize I have a really close contact with a particular teacher or professional in the school, and I ask her for help, and she says no to me, not because she doesn't want to or because she's not professional, but because she's in a union that is there to protect her, but she can't do before school or at lunch or after school. It's not in her union contract right now. So it's hard for the teachers as well as for the kids, because remember, teachers are human too.
So do you have extra support, extra staff on hand to be able to deal with this?
We're working now with Collective Community Services, they just changed their name, to actually push into the Montreal area versus just the West Island. We're looking at Solange-Vaudreuil. We're looking at the East End, where there's no English services whatsoever. We're now even developed a program called SNAP to work with kids 6 to 11 with high criminality. Can you imagine a 7-year-old who is already considered a criminal?
And I guess imagine that extracurricular activities, not having that time filled up after school, makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. They go home as key lock kids. What do? And believe me, if you're 9 years old, the first thing you don't do is rush to do your homework. They're in front of computers, which is also pretty scary. So these kids really don't have the guidance or the skills to really excel at what they should be doing and who they are.
What kind of advice do you give, let's say, a parent who comes in who's like, I don't know what to do, I can't help my child with their homework, it's too advanced for me to be able to help them?
First thing is to relax, okay? Because we've got a lot of parents coming in saying, I've had my child, I know that there's issues, I've had difficulty getting the support from the teachers. It's to relax. And then we sit down with them and slowly but surely put together a plan of action, not only for their son or daughter, but also for them, so that we're working all together. Because the parents need the skills just as much as the kids do.
And what kind of things have you seen in that plan?
A plan of action could be, how do you sit down and talk to your teacher properly? How do you prepare for that meeting? How do you get services in the community that you don't know about? How to work with your child, or maybe how to find someone else to work with your child. Because sometimes it works better when there's a student or a stranger. We sit down with the parents and start figuring out what they're doing and altering them. Discipline is a real tough thing. Saying no to your kids is a very tough thing. How to deal with a temper tantrum. How to deal with a teenager who just said, no. Like how do you do that? How to work as a team.
And for the ones that are sort of ending school, you mentioned high school students, and they're trying to prepare for that, to transition into CEGEP, and this is going on. What's happening to them?
Well, a lot of our high school students are now getting reviews, which are not completely being done. They lose the opportunity of talking to their teachers and the professionals for additional help, even though that they might have the code from the educational system. And if exams are in December, what's going to happen with strike dates?
Right.
And what happens in January if the strike is not dealt with? Because those marks have to get in by March.
Right.
And if they're not in, it's not the teachers or the public sector that's in trouble, it's those kids.
Is there a plan in place for you guys to help deal with that?
Absolutely. We're now doing a transition program in 4 schools to teach these kids how to transition. There's a difference between being in an elementary school where there's 2 classes versus 7 classes and 7 transitions and 7 types of trying to manage their time and 7 types of organizations. Because if they're not organized and they don't have their time,
then that's pretty much it.
That's it. So at the center, we push skills because the more the kids and the parents understand what they're doing and more confident, the more that they're going to be doing it. We've got to work as a team, especially now. We're looking at 1 in 5 kids. Each class is 25 to 28 children. That's 6, 7 kids already in one class with 1 teacher. Poor teachers.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not fun, and they want to do their best.
Sounds like you have a lot of work ahead of you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
With everything.